Welcome to DevJams. This is where we talk with developers who are doing interesting, innovative, inspiring things inside of their projects when it comes to image and video management or delivery. And most likely, they are also using Cloudinary for many of those aspects when it comes to that image and video delivery. My name is Sam Brace. I am the Senior Director of Customer Education and Community at Cloudinary. And in today's episode, we are talking with Maya, who is one of the world's most renowned Vue experts. And of course, we're not talking about Vue like Vue IEW. We're talking about the front-end framework known as Vue.js. Vue, V-U-E. So we're going to be talking more about that and talking about ways that she's been able to incorporate this front-end framework in interesting ways with Cloudinary. And of course, there's many insights we're going to have here. So if you're involved with JavaScript development, particularly front-end development, maybe even serverless types of development, and this is definitely something that you're going to want to pay attention to when you are trying to understand how to work best with images inside of this very, very exciting type of project. Now, with that said, of course, my co-host for all of these episodes is Jen Brisman. And Jen is a technical curriculum engineer here at Cloudinary, and always, I am thankful and happy to have her in this episode. So, Jen, welcome to the program.
Hey, I'm thankful and happy to be here as well.
So, Jen, tell me, why are you excited to talk with Maya here today?
Well, I never had the pleasure of working with Maya when she was at Cloudinary, which I'm sure we'll get into in the episode. But I know she's worked intimately with Cloudinary, and I even saw a few commits on some of the things we'll be talking about today from 3 years ago. So this is all a long time in the making. And also, I'm excited to learn a bit more about Vue. I don't know a ton going in, but some of the things I do know is it pairs well or integrates with TypeScript. I know Vue does a lot of the heavy lifting for developers, and I also know that it's referred to as a progressive framework. So I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about what that means today from Maya.
Absolutely. Great points. And one of those points that I should emphasize is you're right. Maya did used to work at Cloudinary. And so this isn't a case where we're just getting to know her for the first time. She has been around the block a time or two with Cloudinary and all the people inside of it. But also Maya is now working at Microsoft, and she is a senior software engineer there. So what's wonderful about that, at least in my opinion, is that she was able to take everything that she learned about image and video delivery and management and then bring it up to the enterprise level, bring it to another space. But also she still is using it, which is a great sign that it's a stable, reliable side of APIs, SDKs, etc. So wonderful thing. So before we jump in and bring Maya into the conversation, let's make sure that you guys know where to go for more information, because there's going to be a lot of things we're going to be covering in this episode. So everything we're going to be talking about, as well as many of the details about what Maya's projects include, that's going to be found at her website. So that's mayashavin.com. And as you can see here, this is her personal website where you can find all the details about the writing she's doing, the speaking engagement she has, all the resources. So make sure to check all of that information out. On top of all of this, also note that this is not the first DevJams episode that we have done. We have been doing this for several years now here at Cloudinary, and we continue to talk with developers who are doing innovative and inspiring things. So make sure to check that out at cloudinary.com/podcasts. On top of all of this, make sure you are having some conversations with other Cloudinary users. If you are doing any of the work that we're talking about here, Maya and others happen to be members of the Cloudinary community. So you can find that at community.cloudinary.com. And that's going to be our main space for our overall community, which is going to be our forums for overall threaded discussions. On top of this, we do have a very active Discord server for conversations that are more chat-based. And of course, if you're a Discord user, you probably find yourself at home there. So with all of that said, let's jump on over and talk with our friend, Maya. Maya, welcome to the program.
Oh, hi. Finally. Thank you. Well, yeah, nice to see you all.
Nice to see you too, Maya.
So Maya, tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously, I know who you are. I'm a fan, but let's see, can we tell the world a little bit about yourself?
Well, it's always the hardest thing for me. It's like when people ask me to tell of myself, like, oh, wow, am I what next? Well, Maya, yes, of course. And I'm currently a senior software engineer in Microsoft. I'm working in the team for industry AI experience. So we're bringing like experience in including applications and solutions, UIs, solutions to industrial specific customer. And I'm also, apart from what I'm doing in Microsoft, I also a Cloudinary ambassador, also an Next ambassador, GD, technically everything about the web. I like to talk about the web and the front end development. So you will find me my blog mostly talking about how I'm developing the front end, how I'm building website, how I experiment different technology and so on. And yes, speaking about Vue, I always say I'm an expert, but I mean, it's very hard for me to say, okay, I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert. So, but anyway, talking about Vue specifically, I also write books about Vue. So that's why it makes me, like a lot of people think I'm an expert of it. I'm just like everyone else, experiment with Vue, love Vue, and like to spread the word about Vue. And and here I am.
So tell us a little bit more about Vue, because I think it's a case where we've talked about it in different ways over the course of DevJams, but I don't think we've ever had an episode that's been entirely focused on the framework itself. So talk to me a little bit about it. I'd love to also know more just about why you like enjoy working with Vue, maybe compared to some of the other various front-end frameworks out there. We know there's tons that we're thinking about React and Angular and Svelte and Mastro. And I mean, there's tons. So why Vue? And what's exciting about this?
I love Vue from the fact that it's a very opinionated framework for the front end. It's not just opinionated framework, it's opinionated framework for the front end. That's really focused on the view of like how you bring the view to the application. So unlike React, it's more like a library and you probably need to do a lot of things and there's too many ability you can do. For Vue, everything's already bring to you with a great developer experience. The syntax is very similar, more or less to AngularJS with a lot of words used back then. So the transition is smooth. And of course, with the new Vue 3 come out, we have all the composition API and things that make life much easier and starter much faster. And finally, it's the Vue, you cannot react without Vue. So so that's why I love you.
When you touched upon something here about the composition API, and I know that's a big aspect of the project we're going to be talking about here today. So tell us what that is, because it seems to be an advantage or at least a pro when it comes to using Vue in your development work.
Oh, well, in the previous version, Vue started with something called the Option API, which means we kind of write components like an object in JavaScript, which is pretty normal because everything in JavaScript is an object. So you can write a whole component as an object, but then it comes to a learning curve here when you switch between Vue and React. In React, it's class component, and then you also have functional component, and you work with JSX and things like that. And then when you switch to Vue, suddenly there's a huge gap because you're writing everything in functions in one, you're writing everything in Vue and everything in objects, and it's harder to keep up with. And that's one aspect. The second one is more about performance because in the options API, you typically list out everything. And that means that if you have a very big component, you have to list out every data in advance, and then you have to list out everything in that section. It can be really, really, and reusable thing is not good. Because when we want to reusable a functional that exists in a component, for example, I have a fetch component. I have a fetch mechanism. Then I'm going to use this fetch mechanism inside a component for products gallery. But I also want to use the same fetch mechanism for another, just to fetch the product itself. So to do that, you only need a very specific thing. But if you do that in Vue 2, you technically have to use mix in, or it's like two components merged together, and then you can create a third component from two components separately. And that can be a very hard thing to track when it's have a bugs. Or one thing that you need to know what you're responsible for, whether it's this on this component and what the order of merging between the two components. Like if you have the same data presenting two components where you merge together, which data the engine will take, the one from the first component and one from the second component. So that's a lot of overhead. And each composition API is like React hooks. So in React hooks, you can just create a reusable hook. And whenever you want it, you take the hook and you create a local state for a functional component. So for Vue, it's a similar idea. But in Vue, it's much even better that the hook itself is first of all, it allows you to reshare the logic without creating a new component. The second of all, on the hooks, like for lifecycle, it doesn't have all the side. It has, but it doesn't have that much side effect like compared to React. So, it's in a way, it's better performance.
Well, and I know so many developers love React hooks. We've had episodes just about React hooks in general. So it's nice to hear that there's a reason that Vue went down this path, and there's a lot of similarity in that situation. But it also sounds like there's also a lot of advantages. So that's really, really exciting. So then
I would tell you that. It's not that I don't React. I work with React every day. So I do like React in a way, because sometimes when you create a component in React, it's become easier because you can write HTML, HTML inside JavaScript. And it's very fluent, and you also have a lot of things in that ecosystem. But yeah, in the UI and just the Vue itself, the Vue is another layer. It's more than when I say that podcast, someone probably will hate me for that. But I would say that the composition API in Vue is a step above the hooks, which means we take the hooks, we make it better, and introduce composition API.
Very nice. Very nice. So I think this is a good segue to talk about the project then, because now that we understand some of the components of it, we understand the use of Vue, we understand the use of composition and API. Tell us about what you were able to do with Cloudinary, particularly around with being able to create image thumbnails the way that you have been able to.
So this is the project that I started when I was in Cloudinary back then, because we have a problem with the SDK and stuff. I just want a package that dedicates to build the URL for me, for my users. And I also talked with several people in the community, and this package just to aim to receive a public ID or even a URL, Cloudinary URL, and then it just give you a different URL that already with the transformation that you want. And it has to have TypeScript, because everyone knew TypeScript. And back then, 3 years ago, Cloudinary SDK is not TypeScript friendly. So I built this, and one of the first use case for this is to build the image thumbnail for my website. So I use it in a lot of projects. So one of the projects is also, I wrote a blog post now. Only now I publish. So in this package, you can see that we have the view URL, the extract public ID in the site. So the extract public ID is another thing that is also came with the package itself. We dedicate to extract the public ID. This is one of the things that I saw that when I work in Cloudinary, even now, people keep asking me about, like, how do you get the public ID from the Cloudinary asset? Because on the SDK, it gives you the URL now, the public ID.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and then when you want to do it, you need to copy the public ID, or you need to define a way to extract it. And it only works with a Cloudinary domain specific thing. And then it gives you back the public ID, and then you can just continue on with the building the URL. And I also have some transformations and the basic introduction to transformations, like a mini version. Cloudinary documentation is more like to tell you this is exactly what you need to recite. This is the most common things that you should use. And so it's like a mini version. And if anyone want more complex situation can go straight to documentation of Cloudinary. But this is like just to make a developer easier to navigate to what they want in this site. And you also have some, I think some example. If you go to the example, I wrote some example code here and tell the user what they need to do in order to copy the URL, how to navigate around the console, and also that advanced mode. If you click on that advanced mode, then you can see that it allows you to fetch. Like I would tell them how to fetch, how to crop, and so on. It's a lot of things here that it come with the package. The package itself have several packages inside, so the user can take it from the util, which also have the color mapping, and also the plugin for Vue CLI, which is only for Vue 2 because now we don't use Vue CLI anymore. Too bad. But you can actually install now the Cloudinary support for Vue inside. And based on this, so click on the blog post that's talking very simple blog post for how you can build a thumbnail. With that, so you scroll down, you can see here that it's written up how you set it up. And it's also like the type of TypeScript is a different package. If you don't use TypeScript, you don't need to import it. And it's also like give a very simple instruction how you can build the composable, we call it hooks in React, composable for Vue, and like a mechanism to build a dynamic thumbnail URL based on the public ID and on the user input. So user can choose, okay, I don't want this picture at crop and wrap. So I will just add a different transformation. It's the picture automatically respond dynamically to that on the client side. So from this, you can create something like an Instagram editor if you really want to do it. So this is pretty much what it's supposed to be like. So because the UI of the console in Cloudinary Dan is also changed, so I also updated like what you need to do in order to get all this information.
Yeah, you did, and you're absolutely right. There's constant changes happening in Cloudinary, and so that's good to be able to reflect that for sure. So then, talk to me about. I know that we mentioned like the use case situation where you could say like you could possibly build like an Instagram style app, but like what are some other use cases that someone could use for if they were going to try to be composing image thumbnails with Cloudinary and Vue? Like, what do you see? Like, if I was a developer or I was someone that was maybe developing something for a project, what would be a use case for this particular project?
Well, that's a lot of use case. Let's say you have, for example, if you have an image, like you want to display an image scanner, right? And not an image scanner, a product. And the product itself, normally you have the same products, pictures, and you want to show a tiny icon, you want to show a bigger icon, and a huge space, and it depends on the user browser and stuff. With this one, you can dynamically change or add in the listener with the viewport change. Then you can recalculate the transformations and dynamically change the image on runtime. And also, let's say, and when you fetch product or when you fetch image from the server side, then you don't have to think about what the image size you want the server side to return to you. You get the image as this, and then you will say, okay, I want, depending on the component, I want for this component, I want the size 300. So I would just, based on the original URL, you can just call on the composable and say, hey, the composable give me back the URL width for the 200 over 200 image, and I'll just do it. So the developer doesn't need to calculate so much. They just need to know exactly what they want. Or even you can even write a wrapper that they don't even need to know what they want. Just, okay, they say, get thumbnail, give me back the thumbnail. And that should work.
That's awesome. And there's the common thing that we found with DevJams where a lot of developers they say things to us like, it's okay that I'm lazy. This is the way I do this. And it's like, well, no, you're not being lazy, but what you've done is you've created an easy way to make things consistent, and you've made sure that you don't have to think too much when you start getting into the overall build processes and going and actually coding. So I think what you've done here is you've streamlined a lot of work. You've made things very simple and easy when they have to do this particular task. So this is great. This is great. Jen, any thoughts or any questions you have for Maya before we get into the dirty details of the project?
Yeah, a few things. So, I mean, first of all, it's so great that you can just extract the public ID, because I remember as a brand new developer working with Cloudinary for the first time, that was something I was focusing on. I'm like, okay, now I have to go through the JSON, and I'm gonna how am I gonna extract this public ID? That's the thing that I want. So you've written this into this package, and I also love that you went and created this package for this specific use case and for TypeScript users, and to be able to make this composable. The last question before we move into the demo and kind of look under the hood is that I wondered, I know about 3 years ago is when Vue 3 was released, and I wondered about the differences between Vue 2 and Vue 3. Because I know we had Ray Camden on the show, and he was talking about the differences, and I wondered if that's something that coincided with the development of this project, or I'm guessing you had used previous versions before Vue 3 came out.
For the project of you mean the cloudinary-build-url?
Yeah.
So that one is entirely written on TypeScript. So it's like framework-free or framework agnostic. And the documentation built the site is built with Nuxt, and that, of course, Nuxt 2, I think. Yeah, Nuxt 2. So it's pretty old. But it working, so it's still there. So, yeah. And for one, I think for all the projects I've been working until now, I'm using Vue 3. Started using Vue 3, and I don't use Vue 2 anymore. I mean, this website is still on Vue 2, Nuxt 2, so I still need to integrate it. But for the project itself, you can use any Vue 2, Vue 3. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have anything that, for this specifically composable that I built on this article, it has to be with Vue 3 because using composition API, but you can write wrapper and Vue 2 for that, it's not a problem. I also, just a side note, the cloudinary-build-url project, it was used inside Cloudinary module for Nuxt. And that was for 2. And I also wrote that one.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I wrote that one back there. And then the Nuxt will come out, and I didn't have time to update it. So Jacob, who was also another Cloudinary ambassador, he took it over, and then he rewrite the version that match, like support Nuxt 3. So I hope they're still there. this project. And this project we're using the storefront UI to generate to optimize the image as part of the collaboration with Cloudinary and then storefront UI, Vue storefront. You know that company, yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, composable commerce. They do lots of things. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, thanks for answering that burning question that I had. But now that we've talked about what you're doing, let's kind of see how you did it and look under the hood and maybe have a code demo.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so let's take a look at this on the demo. So I just explained. So here I have a component that's called Cloudinary image, and what we receive here, it's just a source, like an URL and a general image attributes. So let's take a look in the Cloudinary image component. So in this component, I have a render an image tab and a button. That's basically just what it does. Will create a round thumbnail on the fly. So for that, using the composable that I wrote, they used Cloudinary, and I also use some constant value that from my CI and my Cloudinary-build-url util. Here I'm using the resize and the gravity, which I don't dare use it. Never mind. That's unused. I'm supposed to remove it. Anyway, so here I receive 2 props. They are SRC, which is the source, and the on text. And for this one, I pass the source to the composable Vue Cloudinary, and I will receive the URL and the transformations. So for this one, I can, both of these are reactive variables. So on create thumbnails, when this will click, what it does, just change the value of transformations to you resize with the type view of the image, view the real size, and it's become a rectangle of 200 over 200 pixels. And of course, I add the radius to make it really round radius. And with this, that's it. The URL will already automatically calculate it and will reflect on the UI. So let's take a look on the use Cloudinary. Okay. So in the Vue Cloudinary, I set the config with my clouding. Yeah, nothing secrecy. And what I receive a full text. And of course, I can receive a base transformation if I want to set the base transformation with in advance. Don't have to. And here I get the public ID to extract the public ID. So I don't care what you pass as long as the valid URL. And then I got the computer, and I'll use the Vue image URL for Cloudinary Vue URL. And you can see the size very small. That's one of the things that emphasize the package is lightweight.
Yes, it
And
is.
what it does here, so I pass the public ID and I pass the transformations value into the transformation parameter of the options. And I got the URL as the reactive. Now, how would that look? So in this one, okay, so let's go here. Here is the cat image. And when I click on the create round image, it will just create a round. And if you inspect it, you can see the image is already translated. And it's happening on the fly. And the image itself is already exactly 200 over 200, so you don't have any problem with the big image filling to the small side and so on. Now, at this point, you probably got what it okay, it looks nice, right?
Right.
So let me do a smaller, different demo where you can render a list of image gallery, like an image gallery from Cloudinary. Okay.
Yeah.
So for that, I'm going to build use image, which I'm using what you call inside access list. So
Okay.
this is one of the things, and I'll just get the JSON list from it. So I pass the cloud name, I pass my tag, I want to get all the text can't from here. And in here, I'm using the fetch, which is another composable. So all it does, it just fetch the data and get back to me the data, including the error loading. So here, I already have the data. Okay. And I will just return the data like this. So this is, I'm having the image for this for Cloudinary. And let's go to image gallery. And here I already have the loading arrow. And I know that the data will give to me have to view the resource in some metadata. So the resources is something I need to render. Okay. So let's just remove this. Are we going to do const data arrow loading? And let's see if GitHub Copilot give me anything. No, it doesn't. I would say I thought GitHub Copilot would give me something, but it doesn't. Okay, fine. I don't mind. Okay, so here I already have the view errors, and I'll just render a list, and I'll do a report, which is iterate in the list, and I say image in data to resource. Now, and then I post the key, and an image. I have the public ID, which is the unique key and ring. So I'll just put it here, and then I'll do an article. Okay. Then here I'll just have an image in the art. And here is the interesting thing, okay? Because I get the public ID, I still need to generate it. So let's just have this one that get make thumbnail. It turned out to generate for me. Fine. And then I do that H2. Yeah. Okay. So this should work, and now I need to have the const get image thumbnail, which I will receive public ID. And what it tells us, if we call, it will just call the URL, cloudinary composable, and I pass the public ID. And I also pass the whole other things like the resize. I don't want the map, so I just remove it. And I want it to be 1250 over 200 and still set 2, and I return the value. And now, final step. So let's just type this one, and we will bring it back.
Okay.
And let's take a look. What do you think? It will show?
Nice.
Yes. Uh-huh. And let you look at in the view. So here you can see that on the header data, and if you go to the object itself, you have the public switch from the API, and then but in here is already come back with the image itself, with the size of the image, and from this you can do other things like you can create reusable things for different users for the image, and that's just simple like that, and you already have the whole product gallery.
That's beautiful. And I think what's really cool about this is, once again, you've shown a lot of transformations that Cloudinary is using here, because you've gone and you've added width and height to make sure there's uniformity to this overall gallery here. And you're also, as we can see, we're publicly exposing the public ID. So that way, if someone's saying, oh, I did such a good job of naming all my files and I want to expose that because that makes sense, that's definitely an excellent attribute. But it's also where I can see this being really helpful, because look how fast everything loaded. It's where we're not waiting for, to generate and to render. It was pretty instantaneous. And so this is a really, really cool use case for what we see here, because it's not just one thumbnail, as you said, if you can make it work for full galleries.
And so you also don't have to fetch on the image in advance. So just, for example, we want to build a virtual scrolling, and when you scroll that the image will load, you can also do that. A lot of different use cases here that we can do for the client side.
Yes, absolutely. And I love the use of the client-side asset list that you have there, because once again, once you have JSON, this kind of the thing that I've seen a lot with client-side asset lists is that the JSON has such deep data to it that if you can expose that and use that for overall front end and for the website components of it, there's a ton you can pull off of that. So this is really, really cool use. And what I like also that you've done here is you've made sure that you're using the tags feature of Cloudinary really tightly. So as long as you're tagging your content as it's coming in, this list should continue to be easy to populate. And it's also where you can get really nuanced. Let's say you have 5,000 assets and you're saying, I want to make sure I'm only showing those that have the tags of cat that maybe also are orange cats that also maybe are wearing like a hat. Okay, sure. Then all those types of cats can be shown within our hats. So I like that it's very, very clear. So that way you can dynamically update websites, update apps with just simple changes of tags and making sure that it's being reflected with the client-side asset list. The thing that I'm interested about with this is, so you went and developed this, and in my opinion, you made this look very magical. It was simple, it was easy to see. Was there any roadblocks that you found when you were building out this overall project, or are there things that you could anticipate a developer coming across, or like, this doesn't make sense, or maybe there's a workaround that you had to do, anything like that, that's just basically not as apparent?
Well, the main thing, I think the main challenge is for this project is about the transformation. Because that a lot of transformation, especially the condition transformation. So to understand how you can cross the conditions, like also you have in Cloudinary, we have some like a condition that you can receive a text, and then it will translate into transformations. So I need to know how I'm going to build the text from the objects, from object transformations of the condition specific, and then turn it into a valid string, and then pass it to generate an URL from that. But that's a lot of things there that I still didn't find a way to overcome it. So I wrote something very simple, but when it's come to the complicated stuff because I don't want to make it into a very, very big object. So I was just like, okay, I also accept you passing the transformation as a string to the method, and then I would just give you back the URL with your string embedded inside the URL. So if you already know what you write, you don't really need to pass object of what and things like resize, gravity, and stuff like that. You can just go ahead and pass the whole string. But other than that, you for normal use case, just like resize and ratio and stuff like that. Yeah, it's good. So that's the downside of that URL. And the second thing is the accept a public ID. So that we're using reject for that. So the reject works, but if you add something like if some customer decided to add some very weird like a key a character that they no one understand what it is, and then you have some weird ending like .px, .ptf, and .jpeg, like double dot like that.
Right.
And then you won't be able to catch it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I could see that. And it's not to say that that's a weird case, but it is to say I've seen it. I've seen like
That's
we all work at Cloudinary. We have all seen extension type of names. So it's
exactly. And also that's also on the issues. Like someone opened the issue for that and say, oh, okay, this the project doesn't match on the case. So here's my proposal. But the proposal itself failed in my unit test on the most basic one because you cast the other one, but you fail on the other case. So it's still there. And someone also asked me about the non-cloudinary URL, like the one with your own domain, and then you map we are like Cloudinary support your own domain, and then you still get the access or translated. So for that, this function is not used because it's only work on Cloudinary domain specific URL stuff.
yeah. And when I think the way that I also would look at that is like, well, it's also where we offer free accounts. So this is a great chance if you're saying I need to use this for a certain type of project and I don't have that situation, then it's not where we have many limiters. It's like, well, you could still technically do it. You just have to do it with a different cloud or a different product environment. So yeah, but no, I could see, but actually great outline of potential roadblocks on the situation. But in my opinion, still all overcomable. So it's all good for sure. And of course, the one thing I like about this, Maya, is that this is all very well documented on your overall blog and personal page. So it's where everything that you went and covered, you have code samples, you have screenshots, you have lots of details. So if someone's saying, well, how do I duplicate this? They don't need to find this episode and pause it and like analyze your screen deeply. It's all very well articulated in this blog post that you have here. So this is very, very have this here. And of course,
and by the
show notes and all that.
And by the way, if you go back to the documentations of the Cloudinary URL,
Yes.
At the page, so go to this methods of Cloudinary API util
Yes.
down there. So here I have several methods that I encountered several times when I try to use Cloudinary.
Oh, that's actually really helpful. I can see why you have that there. Yeah. Well, I think that's the nice thing about this is like, as we're saying, you have your blog post that goes and shows all the steps, but and also when we get into the details about the build URL, you have pretty much everything that you hit as a roadblock or anything that you said, I don't fully understand. It's here. So it's like, it's a perfect set of documentation to guide somebody through the project. So Maya, this is pretty good. And I will say, I'm going to put out a big plug for you here because I know that in coming months, we have a book coming from you, which is the Learning Vue book. As you can see here, it's going to be released in December 2023. And the nice thing about this is, of course, O'Reilly books in general. I mean, who has not been a developer that hasn't read an O'Reilly book? I mean, it has to be like a very small Venn diagram. But in the same sense, for you to be contributing and helping out the Vue community and Rails course, JavaScript framework-based community of developers, this is huge. So I recommend not only for people to follow this project, by O'Reilly, but it's also why check out the project. check out the abilities to bring Vue and TypeScript and the build-url app that you went and built, as well as everything that Cloudinary can provide. But also, if you're saying, I want to tip my toe into other types of Vue development, there's a lot that you cover here. So I'm excited for people to get their hands on this book. And it looks like they can pre-order it from the space. So hopefully they can do
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, Maya, while we're on the topic of this O'Reilly book, I have a question that I'm dying to know the answer of. So all developers know working with O'Reilly books, there's always a different animal on the front. And I wondered about this bird. Did you have any choice in which bird? Were you just informed which animal would be on the front of your book? How did this work? Some inside baseball for our listeners.
Okay, so my editor said that they tried to get the book, and they tried to get the animal that match the concept of the book.
Okay.
But I can tell them what I want to have. And I don't really have any preference regarding whether it's a bird or whether it's a penguin. Actually, I should have asked them to change it for a penguin, maybe. My background didn't have any preference, but she did ask me what animal I prefer. I told her that anything just to have one thing cute. That's good.
So if they asked you, okay, is there an animal that goes with the concept? And you're like, well, maybe a cute animal for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And then she comes to me, the first one she gave is the chicken, like a baby chicken. I'm like, really? It's a baby chicken? It's cute though, but still baby chicken? So he said, no, this is just the one for only review and we read another one. So I got this one and where's the color? I said, okay, this is only for natural color version. And that should looks very nice and the color should match the Vue team. So I was really excited about it.
I love that. That's a cool story. And do you know what kind of bird this is?
I was one moment. I think I know. I'm not good at pet bird, but she told me about it. And I say, let me just one moment. Should we just find it?
Okay, yeah. Of course, you're not stumped at all when you're doing a live code demo. I'm blown away and impressed by how well that went when you're coding live in real time. And then I ask you in real time what kind of bird this is, and you're like, let me find this out. This isn't my main language here.
No, but right. Like I remember from like many years ago when I was helping out at a company that was doing SQL Server education and database administrator education. I remember we worked a lot with people that were involved with Hadoop. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. Is kind of getting completely outside of this. But anyway, it has to do with databases, but Hadoop's mascot is an elephant. So it made it really easy for I remember this guy right here, he wrote this book and of course, what they use elephants.
That's then because Hadoop is an elephant.
Yeah. And so to Maya's point, it's not like Vue has a very clear mascot or animal association. So you kind of have to stretch your imagination and say, what would we put for a Vue book?
But I will say from Maya's answer, I'm now thinking that it might be a little more intentional than I might have originally thought because Hadoop, elephant database, you have to, remember data. Elephants are known to have great memories. Vue, we're talking about front end. We're talking about, a versatile framework. We're talking about, color would be part of that. So I understand, Maya, where you're asking, wait, is this in black and white? Where's the color? Because it's Vue and that's what we're talking about. So, single page application. I mean, I can understand why a bird makes more sense than something else. But I love it. I love this little slight tangent, but relevant to what we're talking about.
You know what? I think it's called orange or Rion. I have no idea how to pronounce this, but anyway, for me, it's not the hippopotamus.
Oh,
yeah. So this is the one. Cute. So it's cute. I would expect it to be a bit green instead of orange because the color of Vue is green. But it's better than a rhino for React. I think I have a book that have the rhino for React. Are you going to get someone with it?
I love it. An orange oriole. I wonder where those exist. I know what I'm looking up after this episode.
Well, and of course, a lightweight bird compared to a heavy rhino. It's
you got that.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, Maya, this has been fantastic. And as we're pointing out, there's lots of places to be going for information, to be contacting you. And the nice thing about your blog and your personal presence that you do have here, you have all the links for people to get a hold of you. So the nice thing is if I look at this, I can see that I can view your GitHub. And of course, you're holding your Cloudinary unicorn. That's a wonderful thing. And it's also where you have links to your YouTube, your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Twitter. You have basically, and then you have ways for people to buy you a coffee. So there's lots of opportunity for people to get a hold of you. This is a great place. So hopefully people take the opportunity to do so. But this has been great. Thanks for being here on the program with us.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for having me. That's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, Jen, I wanted to ask you, what's the big takeaway here? There's a lot that I'm getting from this, but what's yours?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I'm really seeing a common thread between Maya and the things that she shared on this episode today and other guests we have. And so the main three things that I'm thinking of are simplicity, initiative, and sharing. So what I mean by that are simplicity. She's using things like just extracting the public ID or metadata in the cat tag, just simple stuff that, she's not swimming upstream here. She's working with Cloudinary and what Cloudinary is giving her. Simple, not lazy, or I guess lazy in the good way that we've talked about how developers are lazy because they just want to have something that works, that's convenient. Initiative. So, TypeScript, that wasn't something that at the time Cloudinary was providing a lot of support for. She went ahead and built this package that suited her needs directly, and she's still using it to this day. And then the sharing part is just that it's open source. Anyone can find this. If someone's working with TypeScript or Vue and Cloudinary, like, this is the place to go. It's like Maya basically wrote the documentation for it. I mean, it's amazing. This is an amazing resource. Anyone can go see the code. They can change it to fit their needs. And so, it's really a common thread with a lot of our guests, but Maya just is this shining example of simplicity, initiative, and sharing and generosity with other developers.
I love it. Great takeaway.
What about you?
I think the big thing for me, of course, is that when I'm seeing a lot of this, I'm thinking back to like some of the projects that we've seen where there's been image galleries, and we're seeing a very common trend where what Maya's showing, what other projects have been showing, like I'm thinking back to the episodes where we had like Joel Turner, where he was showing how he was able to circumvent Instagram in some ways and create his own image galleries. A lot of what he was doing was similar, where it was done through client-side asset lists and being able to use the JSON, use tags that were applying to Cloudinary assets, and we were able to create these dynamic galleries, very much like how Maya showed. So it's to say that even though these two people probably have never talked to each other, they did something very similar in the projects, just with different frameworks, different overall programming focuses. So it is to say that if you're trying to build image galleries and you're trying to get images to go onto your project in a really lightweight way, Maya's shown this, but it's also where there's a very clear path now that we're seeing that developers are taking to be able to do this with Cloudinary, which is very exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So with that said, let's make sure that people know this is not the only episode. So make sure that you go take a chance to listen to all of the great developers and their insights over at cloudinary.com/podcasts. And I should emphasize that that's not the only place you can check podcasts. You're going to find all of your episodes where you typically like to listen and watch podcasts. That includes YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and our own training Cloudinary Academy, which is at training.cloudinary.com. On top of all of this, make sure you are checking out our Cloudinary community and talking with other users about some of the things that they're encountering. Because as I mentioned, if guests like Joel Turner and Maya are doing things similarly, it's a great place to be able to get differences, opinions, be able to find different types of techniques that apply to your frameworks, your SDKs, and your particular projects. That's going to be at community.cloudinary.com and its associated Discord server. And lastly, but not leastly, make sure that you are checking out everything that Maya is writing on mayashavin.com. Her content is fabulous, just as this episode hopefully was for you. So with that said, thank you for an amazing episode, and thank you for being a part of it. We can't wait to be able to show you all the great things that other developers are doing with images and videos, and of course, using Cloudinary. Take care, and we'll see you in in the next episode.